Hey guys, it's M4J here and welcome back to the Jeffries Network here on OpenTTD. Now those of you who have taken a look at the episode plan, you will know what's coming in today's episode. Those of you that don't, it's to do with, well, partly to do with an idea that I've had for quite a while and not really had the impetus to turn into an actual project on the network. And it's also in part due to last episode. Now last episode I went on a bit of a rant about BR, British Rail for those of you, or British Railways for those of you that don't know. And I think, you know, a lot of it was justified. I always stand by the fact though that I wasn't alive during the majority of British Rail. Like, I was born in '93, privatisation started in '94, and I think it continued to about '98, which is when all the franchises were finally done. So by the time I was sort of old enough to remember trains, I do still remember trains in Network Southeast livery, and I remember trains in BR livery, and the old Intercity, the Intercity black and white with red. I don't know why I'm describing that. Anyone who knows anything about railways will know what the Intercity livery looks like. But with every argument that I have, whether it's to do with football, whether it's to do with railways, whether it's to do with life in general, I always like to look at both sides. And my BR argument is definitely one of these areas where I want to be able to look at both sides, be as impartial as possible, and say, actually, it wasn't all bad. And to be honest, it wasn't all bad. This is the bit where I pretend that I know all of this stuff, whereas actually I'm very quickly looking it up as I'm talking. So, British Railways, which is 1965 apparently. I could have sworn. Oh, there we go. Yeah, sorry. British Railways was started in 1948. That's when nationalisation happened. So before that, you had the Big Four. So way back when railways were first built, you had all different companies building all different lines, and that is how you know, the lines that we've got on this network are known. So we have some lines that are named after companies, some lines that are named after the routes or the geography that they're in, that sort of thing. And that's exactly what it was like back in the day. During the 1800s when railways were first constructed. And then sort of between the late 1800s and 1920 there were the four big companies that we now know, and I believe it was again, let me just check, 1923. I wasn't far off. So 1921 there was an act passed called the Grouping Act, which was officially known as the Railways Act. It was also known as the Grouping Act. It was an act of Parliament enacted by the British government of David Lloyd George, intended to stem the losses being made by many of the country's 120 railway companies. And what the Grouping Act did was took all of these railway companies and combined them into what was known as the Big Four. And the Big Four are famous the world over. You've got the London North Eastern Railway, you've got the Great Western Railway, you've got the Southern Railway, and you've got the London, Midland and Scotland Railway, which is LMS. So you've got LNER, GWR, S. I never quite understood why Southern just had one word. And LMS. They were the Big Four. And then in 1948, the British government decided that all of those companies should operate under a single banner, which was British Railways. And then in 1965, British Railways was shortened to British Rail, which is where the double arrow logo was first introduced. Before that, it was a prancing lion, I believe. Then it became the double arrow, which is the logo that's still used today to denote a railway station in the UK. Why am I giving you this history lesson? I'm sure a lot of you are asking that question. It's because of the impartiality that I would like to now bring in. So BR was terrible in lots and lots of ways. The company was losing lots of money. 1963, I believe, when the Beeching report was published, they were losing £300,000 a day, which is the equivalent of, let me work that out as well, It was over £300,000, I should say that. It was over. So, £1 in 1963 is £18.70 now, according to this. I don't know if I trust this website or not, but I'm going to use it to calculate how much it is today. That's about right. Yeah, £5.6 million a day they were losing, which is a lot of money when you think about it. That is a lot of money. So the first bit of me being impartial is I'd like to talk about some of the things that British Railways got right. And I'm going to say something quite controversial, because the top of my list on the things they got right is they brought Dr. Richard Beeching in to actually sort out the financial problem. Beeching had no railway experience whatsoever. He was brought in from a company called ICI. Again, let me check that. Like I said, I'm pretending that I know all of this, whereas really, I'm looking it up very quickly as I'm going along. I think it was ICI. It was a chemical company anyway. They made medicine and other chemicals, that kind of thing. I don't know much about his history before he joined BR, but I certainly know what he did after he joined BR. It was a controversial move when he was brought in. The transport minister at the time, which I think was Ernest Marples. Thank you to George De Silva for reminding me of that. Yep, he was Minister of Transport during the 60s. He was the guy last episode I was talking about. He really was interested in roads. He had no interest in railways. Not only did he have an interest in roads, he also had business interests in roads. So, I think it was him. There was definitely someone. But he was the transport minister who did favour roads. There was a controversial move bringing in Beeching. Lots of people couldn't understand why someone who has no railway experience was brought in to work on the railways. But what I like about Beeching is he did what no one else was brave enough to do. Is he went away, he did a study, he wrote a report, and he effectively saved British Rail. Which, even like, it makes my teeth curl saying that, because I hate the man for what he did, but I also admire the man for what he did. And it's that real sort of conflict of emotions about this incident that happened in 1963. So the Beeching report, the modernisation of Beeching published 2 reports. That's the first thing, and I have to remember what the first one was called. I think it was called the reshaping. Yeah, the reshaping of British Railways. That was the first report, and that's the one that's famous the world over. He then published a second report, which was like a part 2, saying what should be done with the lines that remained open, which became part of the modernisation plan, which is another thing that BR got right, and I'll talk about that in a second. Beeching, from a business point of view, did everything right. From a railways point of view, from a nostalgia point of view, and from a romantic point of view, he did it wrong. Because lots of lines were shut down, lots of communities lost their railways, lots of businesses lost their business because the railway no longer served it or ran near it. And it was, for a lot of people, catastrophic. And I spoke last episode about the Borders line. And they actually ran a hearse down the line on the last day of operation, saying, "You've killed our community, you know, we're never going to be the same now the railways are gone." But without the actions of the Beeching report, we wouldn't have a railway to be reopening now, because they pretty much would have gone bankrupt. So Beeching tops the list for me. Secondly, and this is to do with today's episode, this is live by the way, this isn't an image. I talk a lot. Anyone who's new to the channel, I talk a lot. You'll get used to it, I'm sure. I like doing these little history lessons from time to time, because it justifies not only what I'm doing in the network, but it also justifies my own personal opinions on British Railways. What was good about it, what was bad about it, and also the present. There's good stuff now and there's bad stuff now. You might hear me turning some pages here, because I am looking up an article in my railway magazine, which is to do with today's episode. But before I talk about that, again, being impartial, last episode I talked about Kenilworth Station, And at the time I was operating from memory, so I said some things which I thought I might have got it wrong. But actually, I looked it up afterwards, and I was pretty much spot on. So Kenilworth, it is once more a station. It used to be a station. It was open from 1844, 9th of December 1844, and it closed in January 1965 as a result of the reshaping of British Railways report. The line it sits on is the main line between Leamington and Coventry, which is now operated by Cross Country, and also, I always forget the name, used to be London Midland, is now West Midlands West Midlands Trains. I think I called them West Midlands Railway last time. That's not right. West Midlands Trains. Now, the reason I want to talk about Kenilworth in relation to BR is because even now we mess up in ways that BR used to do. So, 1972, the track was singled through Kenilworth, but Kenilworth itself was remained as a passing loop. So the double track was left there and it was used as a passing loop. 1977, passenger services restarted over that line between Coventry and Leamington, and the station at the time was not reopened. 2008, Cross Country and Warwickshire County Council supported the reopening and started to prepare a business case. So effectively they were going to reopen the station. 2009, a company called John Lang plc were awarded a 20-year contract to design, build and operate the new station, which was due to open in 2013. Now, anyone with a calendar will look at it and realise that we're not in 2013. Something went wrong. Planning permission was granted in April 2011, but funding was initially refused. In late 2011, John Lang successfully asked to withdraw from the contract as there was no funding available, so there was no point in continuing with that contract. In November 2011, the upgrading of the route between Coventry and Nuneaton, which is that line, was approved, which renewed new hope for regeneration of the line through Kenilworth. In February 2013, so the year it was supposed to open, 2 years after the initial plan to upgrade the line was announced, and 4 years after the initial contract was signed, and 5 years after the initial idea was brought up, where are we? The Department for Transport finally approved funding for the new station, and they identified a potential opening date of 2016. So this was still going to be 3 years of building before it was going to open. In December 2013, the Department for Transport re-announced its grant of £5 million towards the station's £11.3 million total cost, and gave the opening date as December 2016. Now again, anyone with a calendar will know we're not in December 2016, we're in January 2018. So what went wrong? Again, 4th of October 2014, test runs were made between Leamington and Coventry to check timings along the route. So it was all looking really good. It looked like it was going to be opening in 2016, problem free. A design was selected in 2014. Provision was made for a second platform if ever the line was redoubled. But then the plans for redoubling the line were put on hold by Network Rail in 2016. In early summer 2016, a company called Graham Construction Limited was awarded the contract to build the station. The official start of work on site took place on the 29th of July 2016. So even then, it was supposed to open in December of that year, and they didn't start building until July. After that, the initial completion date was pushed back to August 2017, and it was due to be delivered on time by the council. The start of service date was then moved to 10th of December 2017, owing to a delay in track and signalling work by Network Rail. Subsequently, Network Rail completed the necessary track and signalling interventions required to facilitate the station opening by 10th of December, but the station build was not complete. So even though the build was put on hold so Network Rail can finish the track work, but then once Network Rail finished the track work, the station wasn't finished, which is the problem we're in now. And in fact, the All the Stations team went to Kenilworth for opening day, battled their way through the snow, only to find out that the station wasn't actually being opened until February. Because now, the service opening has been pushed back from the 10th of December to February 2018, which is a full 10 years since the two parties involved decided that they wanted to build a station back at Kenilworth. 10 years. I mean, people get annoyed about British Rail. 10 years in this day and age to rebuild and open a station on a line that already exists, I'd like to add. The Borders line didn't take that long. And that was a whole new piece of railway built from scratch. You know, they had to rebuild the embankment, the bridges, the tunnels, everything, and they did that within a period of 10 years. I think from actual concept to building it took just over 10 years, but once the shovel hit the dirt, as it were, it was open, and it's doing really well. It's always this saying that history is always told by the victors, and I get that feeling with British Rail as well, that the history of BR is always told by those who opposed it, because technically they won. British Rail doesn't exist anymore. There are people who want British Rail to exist in another form. They want the railways to be renationalised. I don't think that's the way to go now. I think the only way that we're going to get the investment needed to keep the infrastructure running is to keep it privatised. But there you go. Anyway, what's this other thing that I want to talk about that BR did well? Well, as I say, if you've checked the episode plan, you'll know what I'm about to say. With all the do's and don'ts of British Rail, eventually they started correcting their mistakes. And one of the areas that I feel they did really well in is freight sectorisation. You're probably sitting there thinking, what the hell's he talking about? Well, if ever you see a locomotive on the national network in the two-tone grey livery, it's because of what I'm about to talk about here. So in 1987, October 1987, rail freight, which is a sector of BR, was launched. The main idea of rail freight was to kind of simplify the way that freight was conveyed around Britain. So back in the 60s and the 70s, you would have a train go into a marshalling yard, the locomotive would be detached, the whole train would be separated, shunted around, formed into new trains, and then those trains would be taken off to different destinations around the country where pretty much the same thing would happen in a different yard. And it was very complex, and it took a lot of time and cost a lot of money. So in the 80s, in particular, up to 87, they came up with the idea of fixed formations. So nowadays, if you see a freight train, it tends to be all coal or all gypsum, all stone, all containers. Even though the containers themselves might carry different goods within them, it's still a container train. It's a fixed formation train. Majority of the time, once those I keep going to call them trucks, but this isn't Sodor. Once those formations are created, they're very rarely broken up, and very rarely does shunting take place. And with that came the two-tone livery, which I think became three-tone at some point, and also the funny little symbols that you might have noticed on certain locomotives. So the 4 black diamonds, for example, or the blue and yellow arrows pointing down, or the blue and red squares, or the red and yellow kite shapes, and the blue and yellow waves. You're probably thinking, what were those? Well, let me tell you. So the rail freight sector was split into 6 different sectors within rail freight. They were coal sector, construction, metals and automotive, petrochemicals, RFD, and general. So in layman's terms, coal sector was just that. They carried coal. Construction was anything to do with construction, so be it bricks, be it gravel, be it stone, all that sort of thing. Metals and automotive was steel, copper, tin, whatever it might be. Cars, obviously automotive. Petrochemicals was oil and all of its byproducts. RFD, I think, was things like, hang on, Well, first of all, RFD stood for Rail Freight Distribution. It was dedicated to bulk or train load haulage. Train load is another way of saying fixed formation, by the way. So that's things like Freightliner is now a spin-off of what was the RFD sector of rail freight. In fact, a lot of the freight companies now are spin-offs, which is something else that I'd want to talk about in just a second. I'm sure I've missed one. Maybe not. Maybe not. General and unbranded was the final sector, and that's the one that was basically for locomotives that were not necessarily designated a specific sector, so they might jump between different sectors. And I think also just other. It's basically like miscellaneous, essentially, was what that section was. And what I like about this is it's almost like a military operation, the way they planned this out, and the way they ran it. And that's exactly what I want to replicate here on the Jeffries network, which is finally, what are we, 21 minutes in? We're finally going to get down to the what's the word I'm looking for? The bare bones, I should say, of this episode. So currently we have 2 freight terminals on this entire map. We have this one here, Guard City North Freight Terminal, and we have the one right the way over here at Moningpool Falls, which still has a huge amount of stuff being delivered to it. We will come back to this. By the end of today's episode, we will have a... Excuse me. I've got hiccups and I've got something stuck in my throat. By the end of this episode, we will have a better idea as to the future of these 2 terminals, as well as the future of a lot of stuff on this map to do with freight, specifically focusing on freight today. The reason I think BR got the rail freight business correct was it was profitable, or at least it wasn't losing as much money as the previous incarnation of the freight was. I don't 100% know how profitable it was, if it was at all, so it's probably wrong for me to say that. But also, like, you look at modern rail freight in Great Britain, pretty much all of it still follows the model created by rail freight. As I say, Freightliner was one of the first companies to be privatized around railways, and they took over a lot of what rail freight were already doing and ran it in pretty much the same way. You've now got companies like DB Cargo, which used to be England, Welsh and Scottish Railways. It's now part of Deutsche Bahn. Not quite sure how that came about. There are other companies. I'm trying to remember what they're called. It's mainly those 2 though. Freightliner and DB. They tend to have the monopoly when it comes to a lot of it. Great British Rail Freight, I think, is another one. GBRF. I think there's a 4th. Someone will tell me. Someone always tells me in the comments. But we're going to replicate all of that. And one of the catalysts for this, and I always feel like I should call people out when they give me the ideas. Ben DeRoche. Let me just get my phone. I'm constantly, like, I've got a magazine in front of me, I've got my laptop, I've got my desktop with the internet open at the moment. Now I'm going to my phone to look up more information. Ben DeRoche left a comment on Monday's episode where, well, I'll read it out to you. I'm not familiar with the rail naming. I always hate this word because I always say it wrong. Nomenclature. Procedure. I'm going to say procedure. The rail naming procedure in your area, but where I'm from, the sections are called subdivisions, namely for a town along the line. So my suggestion for the line that we built last episode is to name it the blank subdivision. Then he says, sorry for the blank, I can't remember the terminus for now, town. Neither can I, actually, off the top of my head. I think it was Slenham. I think that was the one. But yeah, I know which line you're talking about. In my response to that, I said I'm interested in using naming criteria. No, procedure, I think is again the right word. From all around the world. So I know that in the US, for example, the way the naming works for rail routes is different to how it works in the UK, for example. Like in the UK, we tend to focus on geography, or we tend to focus on areas. And the two examples I gave in that particular response were the Chiltern Main Line runs through the Chiltern Hills, hence the name. The Great Western Main Line runs from London out to the west. The East Coast Main Line and the West Coast Main Line, technically you only really get to the coast as you go right up towards Scotland, but they still, the way they run from London outwards, they tend to cover those sides. So for example, the East Coast Main Line covers Newcastle, which is on the east coast, and the West Coast Main Line covers Manchester and Liverpool, which are on the west coast, and that's where they got their names from. You've also then got ones like the Great Eastern Main Line, which goes from London out to the east towards Greater Anglia, Essex, Norfolk, Suffolk, that sort of thing. And then you've got the South West Main Line and all that. And it's all to do with geography, and it's all to do with locations. The subdivision idea I like. The reason I like it is because it's to do with this freight sectorization idea that I've now got for this this map. So what I mean by that is each main line that we have here, this is the Great Northern Main Line, this is the West Winds line. They have a passenger name, which is what I've just said, Great Northern, West Wind. But I think they should also have a freight name. And what I mean by that is, let's say the Great Northern. It's the Great Northern route. You know, if you get on a train, you're running on the Great Northern line. But if you're on a freight train, they're not going to say Great Northern, because it's not to do with anything freight related. They'll give it a name, or they'll give it a number. And then there's also the idea of Guard City is quite a big area. Greater Guard City especially is a huge area. What do you class this in terms of freight? Do you have it as all one big sector, or do you split it into smaller sectors or subdivisions? So my idea is this, and I'm interested in hearing your feedback because I'd like to take it on board because this is all new to me. The idea is to, first of all, today we're going to rebuild Guard City North Freight Terminal because it badly needs a rebuild. One of the reasons there's no freight trains out on the line at the moment is because I know this needs a rebuild. So that's item number 1. Item number 2 is split the entire map into sectors and subdivisions and completely revamp the way we work the freight network here. So each main line, and I will change this on the information sheet as well, so keep an eye on that over the weekend because you'll spot it change. Each main line is going to have a passenger name, and it's also going to have a freight allocation. So I don't fully know how I'm going to do that yet. I keep thinking, I'm sure I read somewhere in real life, I think it's when I was doing research on the West Coast Main Line, they have numbers, like numbers and letters allocated to each main line. Let me check that. I'll go on Wikipedia really quickly. West Coast Main Line. Where's the doohickey? Here we go. So I remember reading out these statistics before. The West Coast Main Line is one of the busiest freight routes in Europe. Carries 40% of all UK rail freight traffic. The line is the principal rail freight corridor linking the European mainland via the Channel Tunnel through London and South East England to the West Midlands, North West England and Scotland. The line has been declared a strategic European route and assigned a priority Trans-European Networks route. And it's this Trans-European Networks thing that I'm interested in. If I find somewhere what that allocated number is, I don't know. I know it operates within W10 loading gauge though, which is nice. I believe that means it can take certain containers that other lines can't. But yeah, that's what we're going to do with this map. We're going to split it into sectors. So this is the Guard City North freight terminal. Therefore, pretty much all of this northern half of Guard City, Greater Guard City, right up to Guard Lake, and also including the Kingston freight loop, which I always lose. There it is. This is all Guard City North. That's what it's going to be called, and eventually I'll allocate a number to it, but right now it's Guard City North. By the end of today's episode, we will also have a new freight terminal down in this gap here, which will then mean that all of this from Guard Lake south to this terminal will be Guard City South. The rest of them, east and west, I don't think we need to worry about, because the freight loops and the main lines tend to come in from the north and the south. Even the routes from the west and the east, they hit the loop and they go round, either to the north or to the south. And that loop is based on the Ringbahn, which is a freight and passenger carrying line in Berlin, in Germany. So what I will be doing is going around and upgrading the freight loop that we've got here to actually make it better, because it's been a bit forgotten. I mean, you can see it's been mothballed for quite a while. And I'm also going to tidy it up a bit over here as well, so that some of these lines that we've got coming in are going to be a little bit nicer to look at. But let's get started with this. The first thing I want to do is completely rebuild Guard City North Freight Terminal. And when I say completely rebuild, I mean completely rebuild. We're not going to destroy any of the platforms yet, but everything else we're going to completely cut loose and start again from scratch. So if I cut this back to... I'm going to try to keep this depot in one piece, because this is a valuable piece of history in terms of Greater Guard City, so I would like to keep it for as long as is possible. I'm hoping that by doing this I also free up some some space over here for the towns here to grow, because I feel like they've been stifled a bit. Just cut that as well. Do this. And then all of this we're going to cut back. Now, when I was originally planning this out, I was tempted to move the freight terminal further north. And as you might have seen from where I pointed out where the south terminal is going to be, there is quite a gap between Guard City and the south terminal, and there isn't a big gap between Guard City and the north terminal. That's mostly to do with the time frames in which they were built. So, you know, this one was being built a lot later, therefore there is, let's get rid of those, there's more space. Or there was more space up here when the terminal was first built, whereas down in the south we don't have that. So that's the main factor involved in this. I'm just stopping and looking for a second. So the idea is we want to keep these loops as they are. What we really want to move is these center platforms. So we've got an avoiding track on the outside here. We're going to keep that. And we're going to have another avoiding track on the outside coming out as well. So this is now an avoiding track. What that means is all of this we're going to destroy and start again. So all of this as well, cut across, all the way down here, delete. And we're also going to delete this bit for now as well. Okay, that was quite therapeutic actually, doing that. I feel quite good now. So this is a rough idea of how these platforms are going to be laid out. bit like that. Just thinking, do we want more avoiding track? I don't think we need them, to be honest. So these connect up like this. These connect up like this. These go here. These ones go here like this. These ones go here like this. These ones go across. These ones go across, and then like that. And then obviously they go like that. So that's sort of one sector done, should we say. And then here, we're going to run that across like that. And then you're going to run along like that. And you're going to run along like that. And then here, you're going to run along like that. And you're going to run along like that. And this is the other set in the middle. Right. 1, 2, 3, gap. 1, 2, 3. Gap. You're going to go there, 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 and there. And then you're going to go like that. And then here, 1, 2, 3, gap. In fact, we'll just put them all in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then these will be accessed from the loop here. Okay. And then on the other side, the same thing, I think. Hang on. Also going to scrap all this rubbish. Now I might have to move some lines about here, which I can kind of do. Maybe not, actually. I think working in the confined space is good in that it scales the ideas a bit better. It's bad in that if you run out of room, you're pretty screwed. The problem I've got here is the way these loops are. They're a bit tight. So I'm hoping that by doing some work like this, I will be able to find some more room. So there's 3 more tracks that we've got to get in. I reckon we can do it if I cut all these back and cut all those back. So the through track here, that needs to connect up there, like that. And it also needs to connect up here, like that. And then if these 2 lines connect up like so, and then there and there, shall we say, and draw those straight across. That's pretty much that done. And then if I go there like that, instead of that being 9, we'll take that down to 5. Which puts one there. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there. And then we'll do that. And then you go there, and we will replace that one. So that's the new loop. Essentially, that's the new loop completed. We can then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is the new depots, or these are the new depots, I should say, and they'll connect up over here, kind of like this. We'll put a straight bit there, we'll put a straight bit there, we'll draw a straight bit across there. So you can see there's a new limitation as to how these work, which is fine. I'm happy with that. And then over here, draw all these out. Like so. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why does that not add up? That should add up. 1, 2, 3. That's fine. So that one is of that type. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that should be fine. And then that should all be fine. We'll find out in a minute, won't we? And then here, the way this is going to work is we're going to cut that one off. It should all be electrified. Seems to be. We're also going to cut that one off. And we are going to leave that one. We could have cut it back, but no. We're going to leave that one. Because this... Right. This is where it gets a bit tricky. Because... no, not there. This one is going to come right across like this. And then all of these are going to connect to it, and it's going to go and connect to this, like so. And then these 4 are going to come together here. And then that's going to go there like that. You're going to come across like this. And you're going to connect up like that, I believe. Kind of like that. I think that's fine. And then these 4 are going to connect up here. And you're going to run along like this. And then these 4 are going to connect up like this. Like so. Okay, now these 4 are going to come over here and connect up with the Great Northern route. That's quite easy. That's probably the easiest one to do. They connect up like that, nice and easy. We'll designal all this and we'll resignal it from here back. Except we'll change all of these to normal signals. There, and that one we're gonna cut, and that will be our like separator. This one is then gonna come along here and around the back here. I'm going to do it a bit like this. So we've got a bit of a wider turn there. And then you're going to go down. Whoops. Like that. Okay. The next thing we need to do is this line is coming in from the West Wind line. I forgot what it's called then. It's also the in from the freight loop. So this line is going to split. So let me think how this is going to work. That's going to come along like that. and this is going to come down like that, and this one is going to come up as far as here. In fact, this is going to be the one that goes along to there. So we'll do that again. Right, again, we'll get rid of that. That's our separator. Right, this is the in from over here. So somewhere along here is going to be a bridge, probably there. You're going to run underneath like that. You're then going to run along like that and connect up. You are then going to come down like that and connect up. You're going to bridge up and over the top. And already I'm starting to lose happiness in this. And I'm also wondering what this bit of track's for. Oh, this bit, I suppose. Yeah, okay. So this bit is going to come along here and then up. If we keep running this along like that, and then you're going to go along like that. And then from here, like so, change these to path signals, and that should get us out onto the main line again. Okay, so that's a slight improvement. I should say these tracks at the bottom here are specifically for trains that are heading out around the loop or up the West Wind line. These tracks here are specifically for hang on, which ones? Yeah, these tracks are specifically for trains coming in from the West Wind / loop, and specifically from although, do we want that? I don't think we do want that. Do you know what we really should do with this? Is have this as bidirectional, the ones in the middle. All of them. All of the lines be bidirectional. So that one, and that one. And then that one, and that one. That one already is. That one, and that one. And that one, and that one. So you have them as all bidirectional. It also means that lots of different trains can enter and leave the depot, which is kind of what the centre tracks are for. They're for the trains going in and out of the depot. One thing I'm going to point out now is there's no specific cargo types for these platforms. I don't think that would work anymore. I think that's an old system that would no longer really function. I'm also wondering, is that everything connected? I think it might be. So with that, we're then going to put the platforms in. I'd quite like to make this as industrial as possible. So I've got loads of new GRFs. Some of them are good, some of them aren't as good, but still pretty good. There's no bad ones, that's for sure. I'm just wondering which would be the best. I think still something like this. Do you know what? I am wondering, should I specify platform? I think I should. So like all of this would be oils and things like that. That should not be called that. This should all be Guard City North Freight Terminal. So all the oils are up on this side here. Directly next to the oils, I think general cargo definitely should be all of these ones in the middle. Why is that 9? That should be 8. That makes my life easier. If I've misjudged that. That definitely makes my life easier. And then metals. We'll have metals next to goods here. Yeah, I think these ones definitely all being goods would work out quite well. We'll have lumber on these ones here. Any more here that we should have? Paper? No. Steel? I mean, steel is technically metal, so that should be all classed together. Then I want to do raw materials. So coal, you're going to go in this one here. Which does mean we are going to have to rejig these platforms a bit more, but that's fine. Wood, you're going to go here. And fruit? Do we want to worry about fruit? Don't think we do. Cattle, definitely, because we have got livestock. That's a big thing. Okay. And then waypoints. We've got loads of new waypoints as well, which is cool. I look forward to throwing all those in. So we're going to have a waypoint there and there. We've already got one up here, which we're going to move to there. We've got another one there, and then we're going to have one here and here, one here and one here. They'll all be named in a second. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I do all of those, I don't think there's any more around here, which is good. Excuse me, squeaky voice. We can connect those up like that, and then I think we also can connect some more across. Maybe not from there actually. Maybe just connect those ones up like that. So the way these 3 loops are going to work is going to change as well, considerably. I will connect that one there, and I'll also connect this one across. That one's going to connect like that. That one's going to connect there like that. Over on this side, probably going to do that, and I'm also going to do that, like so. And then down here, I'm going to move that across like that. This one's going to come up like that and along like that. And then I think I'll do that, and that should do for all of that. Right, now because I've done this now as categorizations, I'm going to have to move this line a little bit. So if I take this back, from here, if we go along to there and then hop up and over, now I remember why this freight terminal had so many entrances and exits. There we go. We'll do that one as well. There. And then somewhere, oh, it's there, isn't it? There's a signal. If I move you to there, that's why we have that contingency for reasons like this. And then I can do this, and then I can do this. And you're going to go there. So that's now trains that are coming out here and heading up this way. What I now need to do is trains. Aha! And I've already spotted where it is. Now it's a question of how. Alright, drawing board one more time. You're going there instead. This line is going to branch out this way and connect up there. this line is going to come along here via another signal which is going to be there, and then you're going up and over here via a truss, and you're connecting up there with another crossover there. So there's a little bit of a conflicting movement perhaps going on there, but that's fine. That's fine. What we then need to do, trains coming in from the Great Northern, they can split off and go into these bits absolutely fine, unless they're dropping off. Oh god, I've forgotten what these are already. That's good. Done a stellar job there, haven't I? So was it? That was oil. That was metal. That one's coal. So we're going to have coal coming in from two sides. That's going to come up here. That's going to go there. Like that. And I will put an extra thing there. Like that, because you never know. And then here, like that, and then you're going to go underneath there. I also think from this side, oh we have, yeah, we have got an entrance from that side. That's cool then. But that needs to go like that. Alright. So that is that completed. Done. This is the one that's going to come in from over here. So if I build this and then do this, convert that. Actually, do you know what I should do? Is I should rebuild this as it was and connect you straight up to that. That would work really well and save some space. And then that can go straight along, except it can't because of the way that that's been designed, but that's fine. I'm absolutely okay with that. So you are going to go along like that with you as the path signal. You are going to go up. In fact, you just need to be 1. Don't need 2. Like that. And you are also 1. That's fine. Okay. How are we doing? Let's put it this way. If I'm coming in from this side, I can access all of the... Ah, that's the one I've missed out. That's exactly why I'm doing this exercise, is to find out which ones I'm missing. Now, where am I going to build it? Here, I think. So you're going to bridge over there, which means you're going to be a path signal. Cut all this back a second. Here we're going to have a bridge. Lots of bridges. I wanted to avoid bridges where possible, but not possible as it turns out. Or not as possible. Still a lot less than we had, and this is still a lot tidier than it was. Right, and then you're going to connect there with another little junction, set of junctions here. Okay, and then if I do this and you're a path signal. Okay, so if I'm coming in from the west wind line or the freight loop, the west side of the freight loop, I can now go into here and split to either these three or these three. Alternatively, I can come in this way and go into these three, or head here. And then coming out of all of these, except these three aren't linked up. That's annoying. Or are they? No, they're not, are they? Ah, but it doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to be. Of course it doesn't. Because of the loop. Yeah, so the idea is, apart from general cargo, so goods, food, and manufacturing supplies, which tend to... We're going to have lots of trains carrying those. The rest of the trains, they're going to come in, they're going to run through here, or through these ones, depending on where they're coming from. They're going to run round the loop, and then they're going to come back. So if you're carrying coal, for example, I think I can actually get rid of some of these connections again then. Not all of them though. Like from the... Like these outside ones have to be connected in all directions. Which they are. Which is fine. And I'm giving myself a headache doing this. So I might have to come back to it. The easiest way to find out if it's working or not is to run trains. And then wait for something to break. Which, on the Jeffries network, happens more often than you think. But yeah, this is real methodical thinking that we're trying to do now. In getting this to work. And I'm liking it. I'm liking this new, fresh approach. I think it's quite a sigh of relief, really. I'm also going to put some new waypoints there, which means I've got to do all the re-signaling here. You don't have a signal. No, so you're fine. Coming through there. This one, though, from there, your if current order is this. Okay. I don't think I'm going to have one here, to be honest. I think they're going to be running slow all the way out. Over here, again, I think they can just run slow, like rattle along until we get to here, maybe. But then I've got trains joining from... Yeah, so I'm going to put a waypoint there. I think the speed limit through here is 30 anyway, actually, so I don't need to worry about that. Speed limits is also something that I'm going to be really, really vigilant on in the near future. Like, really vigilant. I'm going to be setting up speed limit graphs for the whole network. So we'll be able to see exactly how fast trains are supposed to be going at certain points. Right, now we come to the fun bit, which is we can come through here, for example, and it's going to be a big coal pile. Or at least it should be. And then, let's say in here, this is going to be all wood. Like so. And then up here, we'll have some oil storage. Like that. What have we got? Timber. We'll have some timber running up here and also along this bit. Cars. Cars are very important. We're going to have a huge area over here for cars. Loads of cars. And barrels. They're going to be down here because I imagine we're going to have some diesel locomotives needing to be refueled. Where is it? Why can I not find it on this list? If I reach the whoops. That wasn't supposed to go there. Oh, that's all gone wrong. There we go. Right. Why can't I find it? I think I've reached the station spread limit. Whew. can just about get some in, except I want them on this side of the track. So you're going to be Guard City North, along like that. Oh, station's too spread out. That's not good. Alright, we're going to have metals on this side anyway. So copper, copper, to there. And then we're going to have steel in here. Like that. Anything else? Containers? I suppose we could do some containers stacks. In here maybe? Can't build railways. Yeah, hang on. Oh, I think I've done it too big, that's why. Yeah. Reach stacker, something like that. And then we'll just have 1, 2, 3 like that. And then in this space, we'll have more. And we'll have another reach stacker. We'll have container stacker there. We'll have a container crane. Can we not do that? Couple of cranes. One thing I haven't thought about yet is road access, which is also very important. Which I think comes under fixtures. No? Oh yeah, it does. What am I talking about? Road crossing, which is, as I say, very important. So we're going to have a road crossing there. Oh, actually, no. That's not going to work, is it? If I could do it as a waypoint, that'd be fine. But I can't put one there because then trains coming in are going to stop there. That's not what we want at all. And also, I'm realising, which I think we've got just enough room for, to do that. Wherever the lines diverge, we need to be able to put a signal to denote what type of trains are allowed through. So they are fine. How many lines do we have coming in? It's, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, isn't it? Yeah, should be 4. Alright, I think this is actually pretty good to go. We need one more line of stuff. We're never going to have fruit come through here, are we? I don't think we are. We might do in the future. I mean, if we do in the future, I will change it accordingly. It's annoying that we can't put that there. Is there anything we can take out of this side? Yes. We can take out a row of cars. Then I should be able to stick that there. Perfect. And then in terms of cars, we'll do that to make up for it. I might build them on this side of the line as well. Because he is having a lot of cars. I mean, cars is made up of goods, so that's where all that's going to come from. Right. The signalling I'm going to do off camera, because I need to remind myself which ones are for which material, like which platforms are for which material. How long have I been recording for? An hour. Alright, in that case, I'm going to have to split this into 2 episodes. So, at least I've got something for Monday's episode now, which is cool. So let me just draw a line across there. And then renumber these. Alright, so we've rebuilt the Guard City North freight terminal to have... Well, originally I had North and South divisions. The idea would have been... this area would have been the South division, and I'd have built a North division somewhere up here. But when I was planning this, I didn't realise how close Gart Hill was. For some reason I thought we had a big area of green. It turns out that's over here. So we've kind of now got an East and West division. We do still have North and South, if you think about it. North is this bit and South is this bit. And trains can switch across and move all the time between them. So that kind of works. But yeah, it's not quite what I had in mind, but I'm actually quite happy with the result. I think it looks quite nice. I look forward to seeing how well it can cope with the demand that we're going to put it through. So I'm going to put a cut here. We can come back in Monday's episode, and I'm going to build, or at least plan 3 more freight terminals. Build 1. Yeah. We're going to build the Guard City South freight terminal. For some reason I can't spell freight. There we go. So we're going to plan 3 new freight terminal sites. We're going to build 1 of them, which is the Guard City South freight terminal. And I'm also going to talk to you a little bit more about the subdivisions on the network and how they're going to work. So until then, guys, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Also, if you enjoyed the history lesson, it's always nice to know, so I can do, maybe not do more of them in the future, but at least I know I haven't wasted everyone's time. That would be nice. Besides that, also drop a like if you're enjoying the series. It's starting to pick up a bit more again. Those new trains that I got from the new GRF list, that's really sparked an interest again in building new lines and new stations and things like that. So that's really, really cool. I'm really happy with them. But besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, I will see you soon.